Welcome to English Podcast, where learning English meets inspiring storytelling. Today, I'm going to share a timeless fable with you, a story called The Bear and the Bee. It's a tale about kindness, consequences, and the unexpected ways our actions can shape the world around us. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the story. Deep in the heart of a lush green forest, where the trees stretched tall and the sunlight danced through the leaves, there lived a bear. This wasn't just any bear. He was large, with a thick coat of fur that shimmered in the sunlight, and a personality to match his size. He was strong, confident, and some might say, a little bit stubborn. Now, this bear had a favorite pastime: eating. He loved nothing more than wandering through the forest, sniffing out berries, nuts, and the occasional honeycomb. And it was honey that he loved most of all. The sweet golden nectar was his weakness, and he would go to great lengths to find it. One sunny afternoon, as the bear lumbered through the forest, he caught the scent of something delicious. It was faint at first, but as he followed it, the smell grew stronger and sweeter. His mouth watered. He knew exactly what it was: honey. The scent led him to a tall tree, its branches heavy with blossoms. And there, nestled in the hollow of the tree, was a beehive. The bear's eyes lit up. He could already taste the honey on his tongue. Without a second thought, he reached out a massive paw and swiped at the hive. But the bees were ready. They had worked hard to build that hive, to fill it with honey, and they weren't about to let a bear ruin their hard work. As the bear's paw struck the hive, a swarm of bees erupted from it, buzzing angrily. They dove at the bear, stinging him again and again. The bear roared in pain and stumbled backward. He swatted at the bees, but there were too many of them. Finally, he turned and ran, crashing through the underbrush until he was far away from the hive. Exhausted and covered in stings, the bear collapsed by a stream. He dipped his paw into the cool water and winced as he touched the swollen spots where the bees had stung him. "Why did they attack me?" he grumbled. "All I wanted was a little honey." As he sat there feeling sorry for himself, a tiny voice spoke up. "You shouldn't have taken what wasn't yours." The bear looked around, surprised. There, perched on a nearby rock, was a small bee. It was one of the bees from the hive, its wings shimmering in the sunlight. "What do you mean?" the bear asked, frowning. The bee buzzed closer. "That hive wasn't just honey. It was our home. We worked hard to build it, to fill it with honey for the winter. When you took it, you didn't just take honey. You took our safety, our food, our future." The bear blinked, surprised. He had never thought about it that way. To him, the hive was just a source of honey. He hadn't considered the bees or the work they had put into it. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said quietly. The bee nodded. "I believe you. But actions have consequences. When you take without thinking, you risk causing harm, even if you don't mean to." The bear sighed. "What can I do to make it right?" The bee thought for a moment. "You can start by being more mindful. Before you take, think about who or what might be affected. And if you want honey, why not ask? We might be willing to share if you approach us with respect." The bear nodded slowly. "You're right. I was selfish. I'll do better next time." The bee smiled, or at least as much as a bee can smile. "That's all we ask." And with that, the bee buzzed away, leaving the bear to think about what had happened. From that day on, the bear was more careful. He still loved honey, but he no longer took it without asking. Instead, he would approach the hive respectfully, and the bees, seeing that he had changed, would sometimes share a little honey with him. The bear learned an important lesson that day: that kindness and respect can go a long way, and that sometimes the sweetest rewards come not from taking, but from giving and understanding. And that brings us to the end of today's story. The Bear and the Bee is a simple tale, but it carries a powerful message. Our actions, no matter how small, can have a big impact on others. It's a reminder to be mindful, to be kind, and to always consider the consequences of what we do. Before we go, Let's recap some key vocabulary and phrases from today's story. Consequences. The results or effects of an action. Mindful. Being aware of something and thinking about it carefully. Respectfully. In a way that shows respect or consideration. Swarm. A large group of insects, especially bees. Stubborn, unwilling to change one's mind or behavior. Try using these words in your own sentences to practice. And if you'd like, share your sentences in the comments below. I'd love to read them. Thank you for listening to English Podcast 2.0. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales that help you learn English while exploring the beauty of life. Until next time, take care and remember, kindness is always the sweetest choice.